What? Yeah. No, I'm behaving myself. No, I'm not playing in abandoned buildings. What? Again? Now, I suppose you had those people follow me again. Fine. Hey, this is Jimmy Pharaoh from Monte The Pharaoh, and I want to thank all our subscribers. We have now passed 14,000 on our YouTube channel. But I want to ask our subscribers to take the next step for us and become a full-fledged member of Monte The Pharaoh. Yeah, that's right, folks. There's 3 different levels to choose from. There's free shirts. There's free autographs. Just check it out and become a member of Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monte The Pharaoh. Later.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monte The Pharaoh, only seen here out of Indie Music TV with the 3rd leg. So 2 great shows. First, Maven.
Yeah, he was
and then
awesome.
we had the greatest families in pro wrestling. And now
cool.
we've got the Hall of Famer icon on the couch, Tony. So, Tony, before I get to the news items, just asking you, we did a show right before you, greatest pro wrestling families. Give me your top 3 greatest pro wrestling families. Not wrestler, like you could have a great wrestler, but what families, top 5 in wrestling?
Most definite, the Von Erichs.
Yeah.
That's a most definite.
I was moving them up. I agree with him. Yep.
I would say the Ortons.
That's cool.
That's
They
3 generations.
they were on the list. Okay.
And what I want to say, as far as the #1, I would say it would be, because there were just so many of them. The Samoan.
And Hawaii.
Go back to look at Peter Maivia.
He's got. They're all on the list.
Alfred Seeker, Little Seeker. I mean, they were primarily in wrestling for generations.
And now we have Roman. We have Roman and the Usos
and
now.
even now,
Right.
Got Roman Reigns.
Right.
And so that's a long stretch all the way back.
Sure is.
Even before Peter Maivia, there was a guy called Sam Steamboat.
Okay.
Ricky Steamboat got his name for.
Okay.
So the Samoan, they're going back real, the Von Erichs, I say Samoan, that through Alfred Seeker, Dwayne Johnson, just Paul Deck Clan, because he's the grandson of Peter Maivia.
Now, Tony, our #1, just to get your thoughts on it, our #1 family was the McMahon family.
Really, that what the people said?
No, that's what these 2 people said, me and him. But what do you?
We had the Samoans at #2, but we put McMahon's
To be
at #1.
technical, we put the McMahon family at #1 because Vince, after all, was the greatest heel in the history of this business, is Mr. McMahon.
Exactly.
You have Shane, the human kamikaze, who kills himself every match. You got Stephanie, who, quite honestly, may be the greatest female villain in the history of this business. You know,
Well, I'm looking at
so
actual people in the ring, like the Vashon.
full time. I get you. I get you.
With the Hart Foundation.
The Hearts are on the list.
You talk about a wrestling, you say wrestling family group.
Right.
They more, I would say, probably would say promoters.
Mm-hmm.
Promoters, I'll put the McMahon. But when you take with the Hearts, they go all the way back to Stu Hart,
Absolutely.
Bret the Hitman Hart,
Absolutely.
Owen Hart. You look at Jim Neidhart, even now Nick Talia. And then David Boy Smith was a part of that family. So when you talk about wrestling family, what I look at is the generation of people that actually gave blood and sweat in the ring.
Thoughts on the Poffo
And none of the McMahons done that.
How about the Poffo family?
The Poffo is another one. But the
Okay.
Poffo is on like 2 generations. Mm-hmm. There was not 3 generations.
I got you.
Yeah. The Von Erichs and all them, they like 3 generations.
Right. Well, the
Hawks
reason-
were like 3 generations. Bob Orton Sr., Bob Orton Jr.,
Right. Randy.
and Barrio,
Barry,
and
Randy.
Orton.
Right.
So
Right.
each I
Right.
name all the ones that have really been in this business
Right.
year after year after year, and they've been passed on. You say wrestling family,
Right.
and these guys were what I call wrestling because they gave blood, sweat, and tears in the ring.
Right.
McMahon didn't do that.
Right.
They didn't give the blood, sweat.
So
and
Bruno
tears.
Sammartino and David doth not make a family. Is that what you?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just like you asked me who the top bodybuilders. I'm not going to name power lifters.
Right.
Even though they
I
both
got
lift
you.
weights, it's not the same thing.
I got you.
And then you take the Vachon family. They was around for generations.
Sure. Sure.
Went all the way up to Luna Vachon. So,
Right.
they have many great wrestling families in this business that generation after generation after generation stepped in. Like Mulligan.
I was just about
Like
to.
that Mulligan, And,
You got Barry.
When look at his family,
Bray
not
Wyatt.
blood family, but he go all the way. Mike Watanda,
Right.
Mike Watanda all the way up to Mike Watanda and what's the other kid? Bo
Dallas, Bray Wyatt, and Bo
Bray
Dallas.
Wyatt.
Yeah, sure.
That's all part of the
Yeah.
Blackjack Mulligan clan.
It's a hell of a clan.
Barry Windham, and
Right.
it's still flowing today.
Right. Yeah,
So
they
Blackjack Mulligan family would be a family too. Chavo Guerrero, the Guerreros.
Guerreros.
The Guerrero was another legendary.
Dusty's had a couple of kids.
Yeah, we're the same thing with Dusty Rhodes.
There you
Dusty
go.
Rhodes, and I got Cody Rhodes,
Right.
and Gold Dust. So
Right.
there's a lot of. It's hard to say that one is above the other, but I would say if I had to pick a number one, it'd have to be Samoan first, Von Erich second.
Any pressure? I would think there would be pressure, but is there any resentment that comes from the wrestlers who are not in one of those families in the locker room when they see one of the guys that are in a wrestling family? Is there any kind of arrogance that may come with, hey,
Well, you
I'm
see,
in a wrestling family. Who the fuck are you?
I don't know
You
if you ever hear this, but when they had the war between WCW and WWF at that time, Vince McMahon, these are his words. Ted Turner lost because he was in the wrestling business.
Right.
I won because I'm in the entertainment business.
Right.
So to Vince, he was never his father was in the wrestling business.
Right.
Vince and Stephanie or Shane have never been in the wrestling business. They're in the entertainment business. And you asked about wrestling, not sports entertainment.
Right. Which is how
And
we got
these are Vince's
WrestleMania.
words. I mean, I'm not knocking.
Yeah,
them,
no, but that's how we
what he
got.
said.
That's how we got WrestleMania. Vince always thought bigger than just the sport of wrestling itself. He always did. That's
Yeah.
why his presentation's over the top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he did not want to be in the wrestling business.
Right.
So he changed the whole flow mat of wrestling probably forever.
Right.
It probably would never go back to what it were.
Do you like AEW? Do you see any of AEW, the other, Vince's competition? Does that do anything for you?
I don't watch any wrestling.
No, you totally don't.
I don't
huh?
watch WWE. I don't watch AEW. I don't watch none of that.
Why do you choose not to watch any wrestling? I'm just curious.
I don't have time.
Okay.
That's the only reason. I
Oh,
don't
that's
have,
it? You're not like turned off by anything about
I
wrestling
don't
or
have
anything?
time. No.
Okay.
I don't have the time.
Okay. Good enough.
Yeah.
Well, we see that often, right? The wrestler, like even the old football
Dude,
players
we
and
have
stuff. they
barely
don't
have
watch.
enough time to squeeze in wrestling the
for
way
sure.
it seems with our schedules. I get it.
So,
I
guys,
totally
we
get it.
got Christmas is coming, and
Yep.
there's been like 14 Christmases that there hasn't been any snow in a
What?
row.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So we got a
Here in New
potential
York.
blockbuster snowstorm brewing in the central and eastern states ahead of Christmas.
Okay.
Major snowstorm expected. Pharaoh, are you ready for some snow?
No, I can't stand
We already
snow.
got ours in Maine.
Yeah, I don't like snow.
Do you really?
Yeah, we got one. It went Friday into Saturday.
How much did you get?
Where I live, 8 inches.
Okay.
Hmm.
All
We
right,
got
that's
8
sizable.
inches.
That's a lot.
That's sizable. I hate snow. As I've gotten older, I mean, as a child, it's very easy to love snow. You're not driving in it. You don't have to deal with sliding off the road or dealing with some other asshole who has no respect for nature and slides into you. So I have, as the years go, and shoveling too. As a little kid, your dad's usually doing the shoveling. So as you get older, now you're doing all the shoveling, and you got to drive in this shit? No thanks. I could really, I really hate it.
Well, Tony,
I'm not a fan.
speaking of 8 inches, our new sponsor, Manscaped, the new weed whacker
Nice segue.
can clean up your 8 inches and get you nice and trimmed for, maybe some certain thing that may go on.
Do we need
in
to
the
upgrade
future.
to a 10-inch for you, Tony?
What is that for?
It's to clean up your 8 inches, to trim it up,
It's your weed whacker.
kind
You
of
can-
not be so retro.
you clean down below. You don't have
Clean
to look
down
like
below,
Ron Jeremy.
Get that all cleaned up, trim that hair up a little bit.
would wanna look like
And just
Ron?
if you use the MNP discount code, you get 20% off of this weed whacker.
Oh,
Seriously.
wow.
So you could really take care of your 8 inches.
What about the bugs?
I don't know if this gets
This-
any.
this
I
thing-
don't know.
this
I don't know
doesn't
if
have
this
a
gets
bug
but
removal?
There's no bug removal in here. So you're probably gonna have to use some sort
Are these
of.
these bugs embedded deep in the weeds?
They just jump around. I leave them alone. They don't bother me. I don't bother them.
That's all.
That's
Yeah.
good.
But if you use the
That's
code
good. That's good, Tony.
MNP, that's MANDP, 20% off, and tell them Monte the Pharaoh sent you, and you could have your very own weed whacker. It's a great. Listen, Maven said he likes
You know
it.
something? In the wrestling world, when I first started in the 70s and in the 80s, this was the best time of the year for all the wrestlers all over the world was from the 15th to the 25th. We was off. See, what a lot of people don't realize, if you ever talk to Ric Flair or anybody out in the 70s, there's 365 days in a year. Wrestlers used to work 355 days of them year. The only time we have a day off was between the 15th of December to the 26th of December. But if you was in places like Texas and some southern state, you would even work on Christmas Day. So we never really had. They used to give us New Year's Eve off because they was afraid that there were so many drunks on the road back then. They were afraid one of the wrestler being in an accident and wouldn't be able to make the show the next day. So a wrestler only had 11 days off. Like, give you a prime example, like in Charlotte, I was married then. I was living in Charlotte, and I would leave Charlotte. We do Charlotte Monday night. Then Tuesday we go to Raleigh and do Raleigh a house show. Then we stay over Wednesday and do Raleigh TV. Then you would drive to Norfolk or somewhere on Thursday, and then Friday you did Richmond or another town. Saturday you did my hometown, Roanoke. Sunday you did Greensboro. So if you was married to a wrestler during that time, you saw that wrestler that week one day, Monday. And this went on for time and time again. But later on, McMahon Jr. changed it where guys only work 4 days a week. They would work even from, like I was on SmackDown, and SmackDown did, I left Wednesday. No, I flew home Wednesday, something like that. I think I left, I worked Monday, Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. So I was off 3 days. I used to fly home on Wednesday, and then I had to leave back out, I think it was Saturday. And then Raw, they worked until Tuesday. Tuesday, they would go home. Monday Night Raw. But the guys had 4 days a week off, but really 3 days. But really you only had 2 days off because one of the days were traveling. So Vince gave you 2 days off a week.
Vince reduced the work schedule.
Huh?
You're telling me Vince reduced the work schedule at one point then?
Yeah, because Vince told
thought
me
he was a
one
slave
time
driver.
years ago, he was doing this. You know, you do these albums. You know, before everybody do the 45, you do the album. We make an album called the Na Na. Na 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 na. So he sat and talked to me a lot about his idea that his father was against, but he thought it was a great idea.
Right.
And he said if it was up to him, he would only do TV and pay-per-view. He said the only reason he do house show is to keep the boys busy. But Vince never was interested in doing house show. He said, he said, it was up to me. I would rather just do a pay-per-view and TV.
That sounds about right.
And that's
We
pretty
saw
much
a lot more house shows
Yeah,
when
but you know-
Senior was running shit.
Yeah,
we did,
but
though.
here's the thing.
We did, though, with Senior.
Back with WCW, right? And when they were at the war with WWE, the thing that saved the WWE were the house shows because WCW wasn't doing house shows.
Right.
So all they
That's
had
true.
was TV revenue and pay-per-view revenue.
That's true.
Yeah.
WWE was having house show
That's
revenue.
true.
Yeah.
So for what I understand, house show revenue is good to the company. Again, I don't know for sure.
Well, no, not really. The house show is just for the boys. They don't like. I wrestled. I was with Vince Senior, and I remember, you get your paycheck, and you got paid for the that the small venue. We got paid that night, but for the Coliseum show, like Nassau Coliseum, Magic Garden, we got paid at TV every 3 weeks. It was all in a check.
Okay.
So I was looking at my pay stub, and I noticed I wrestled in Philly. I got $1,500. I wrestled in Madison Square Garden. I got $600. So I went to Vince Senior and I asked him, how come I made more in Philly, more in Nassau Coliseum, more in Boston Garden than I do in Madison Square Garden?
Right.
He said, Tony, the wrestlers are the only one that get paid. He said, I don't make a penny off the garden. He said, it cost me $20,000 just to open the doors. Just to open the doors, it was 20 grand back then. And I said, well, why you do it if you don't make no money? He said, for the publicity. Okay. Because Madison Square Garden was TV. So people used to come home. We used to wrestle in Madison Square Garden and then go to 49th and 8th Street at the Ramada Inn. It was called the Ramada Inn at the time. And then I would watch my match on Madison Square Garden TV. So he did it for the TV.
He must have been right. He must have been making money from the Garden, MSG Cable.
No.
He wasn't making money off the television deal.
Much. You had to
Who
pay
does a
too
show
much
for free at the Garden if they?
Yeah, they had to pay so much to open it. They had to pay police.
He didn't lose money on his Garden Live events, did he?
At the Garden, he never made money.
So Tony's right. At one point, you had to, if you were going to have something there, you had to pay the Garden to use it.
Sure.
When things started changing, popularity changed.
Right.
Then, like for WrestleMania now, where Vince paid the Garden to do WrestleMania,
Okay.
Yeah.
right, in closed circuit.
Right.
Now you've got cities paying Vince
Right.
to bring WrestleMania to their city.
I would think
Now
so.
they do, yeah.
Yeah, right.
And
I would
also what people don't know about, see, not only had to pay $20,000 just to open the gate. That just to open the gate. He had to the athletic commission of New York assigned the referees.
Right.
So Vince couldn't even book his own referees. You had to use what they send you
Right.
at a set price. So a lot of referees come in making more money than the wrestlers. Also, you had to pay what they call gate tax.
Billy Caputo was the big breadwinner.
Well, they had to pay.
Roman
Well, they had
was
to
the
pay
big.
gate tax too. On top of that, plus all the boys have to. During that time, you had to wrestle. You had to have an EKG and a physical before
Right.
you had to
The
be
State
licensed.
Athletic Commission,
So you had to
right.
pay for the license.
Wow.
You had to pay to get a license. You had to have an EKG and a physical.
So the moment Vince McMahon says this is entertainment, he gets away from all this shit. He's a genius.
Got rid of the athletic
He's
commission.
A genius.
Yeah. So, but he made money in Philly. He made money in the Boston Garden. But with the Madison Garden, that was mainly he did it. He told me this. Is what he tell me. I'm not a promoter, but he said he did it strictly for the publicity.
Interesting.
And so people still saw Madison Square Garden TV, and it went everywhere. They played all week.
Right.
They used to play that all week.
Right.
So
Right.
by the time
Reruns, yeah.
we go to these other stuff, we be on everybody in New York area saw. So they would come to the Nassau Coliseum. They would come to at that time they used to call it the Meadowlands. Now it's the American Dream or something.
You remember the Comac Arena in Comac?
Yes.
In a place like that, you got paid that night, right?
That night, yeah.
Okay,
Small
I just wanted
buildings,
to
yeah.
get that straight. That's very interesting.
But like if you wrestle anything that was not a Coliseum.
What did you make at the Comac Arena? Do you remember for one match? Just
No, we were.
what did they give you that night? Like, let's
Well,
say you
see,
wrestled that.
they didn't have guarantees back then. We got a
Okay.
percentage
Whatever the house was.
just of the house. Just
was
like
the
if,
house?
right, if you was a main event, you got 8%.
Okay.
So if he did $100,000, you got $8,000 for that night.
Well, that's not so bad. That's
not bad.
So we got a percentage. Each match got a percentage of the Now, I didn't get $8 grand. The main event got $8 grand.
I got you.
Which means 4 for you and.
But you were usually back in those days. If you did appear at the Comac Arena in the early '80s,
If
you
you
were at
didn't
least
draw, you
match
didn't
number
make money.
2 or number 3. You were in the top 3 matches.
Well, you had to know how to draw money.
Right.
And if you couldn't put ashes in a seat, you couldn't put money in your pocket.
You put us in a
Because
seat.
We got paid. There was no guarantees.
Right.
So everybody got paid off the door.
Off the
So
percentage of
whatever
the-
came
okay.
through the door, it's how they would pay you.
Understood.
So if the house was shitty, it didn't matter if you was. It didn't matter where you was
Right.
at. If
Right.
you only had 100 people in the building, ain't nobody making no money.
That's that. Right.
You know.
Understood.
And that's why they always put guys in the top, not because they were great wrestlers, because
Great
they
draw.
knew how to put butts
They were
in
drawers.
the seat.
Right.
You have to have something that would draw people, that people wanted to see.
Right.
And it had nothing to do with your wrestling business.
Right.
You take Chief J. Strongbow, you know, in his day he was a good wrestler, but towards the end he was not that great a wrestler. But he still had the ability. He had a lot of fans. And he had the ability to draw people to the building.
Sure.
Pedro Morales was the same way.
Right.
He knew how to draw people to the building. To me, Johnny Ross was one of probably the best wrestlers in WWE at that time. But he didn't have the same drawing power
Of course.
as Pedro Morales.
Right. Right.
Bob Backlund was a great wrestler, but he didn't have the same drawing power as Hulk Hogan or
Right.
Stone Cold.
Right.
And I think Vince is running into the same problem now. So Vince got smart. In the older days, Vince used the company to build the wrestlers.
Right.
So if Hulk Hogan didn't show up, you had a problem. If Bret Hart didn't show up, you had a problem.
Right.
So how Vince switched it around to save the company, he don't use the company to build the wrestler more. He used the wrestlers to build the company.
Yep.
So
Yep.
people don't go to see, like in the old days, people would go to see Bruno. I
Right.
want to see Bruno Sammartino.
Right.
I'm going to see Jimmy Snuka.
Right.
I'm going to see. Are you go? If people ask you, are you going to see Hulk Hogan? Are you going to see Chief
Right.
J. Strongbow?
Now it's I'm going to go to WrestleMania.
Right. Now I'm
gonna
going
go
to
the Royal
WrestleMania
Rumble.
to see the WWE
Right. You don't
event.
care.
Right.
Like if
Right.
if WrestleMania sold out before they even know what the card
Right.
is.
Well, give you a prime example.
Exactly.
John Cena, 5 years ago, was the hottest ticket in the world.
He's the last great
He left. He
star,
left.
as you said, you know.
The next day, it was like he was never there.
Right.
Because Cena is no bigger than anyone. It's the company now. People go to see WWE.
Okay, we've discussed
So
this.
that's why you can get rid of certain guys.
But Tony, we discussed this, right?
true, the ratings
it's like
didn't sink after
the
Cena
wrestler
left.
needs
They
the
didn't sink.
company, and they can make their money thanks to the machine that builds them.
Right.
That's right.
If they decide, we talk about it all the time, the wrestler also decides they're bigger than the company.
Happens.
And they always realize that, guess what? After your short term, after everybody's all upset that you left,
Right.
and some other organization brings you and gives you big money,
CM Punk.
it ends really quickly for you, and it's
Real
over,
fast.
and you just
Yeah.
become. We were talking about Mandy Rose. I don't know if you know Mandy Rose, gorgeous girl.
Yeah.
All of a sudden turned her career around, became a better wrestler. They let her go because she was getting a little too racy on her thing. Mandy Rose, if she's not careful, will just be another pretty face
Right.
doing nothing.
Right.
Same thing with Sasha Banks.
Well,
I
Sasha
agree.
Banks going to make her money in Japan,
I
and
agree.
then she'll quickly be gone.
She'll
Wait,
dissipate. yeah.
what was the African American girl? She married one of the
Naomi.
No,
Anybody seen her?
See, that one I feel is going to be different because I think
She can
Vince
just
knows
come
what
back
he's
to-
got in Roman.
She can come
He
back
doesn't
to the
want to piss
bloodline.
somebody off.
She can come back to the
They don't,
bloodline.
you really piss her off, then you're going to get the Usos pissed off, and
Right.
then it'll be,
Yeah,
know,
there's a family dynamic there.
You don't think it
In
matters,
her
huh?
case,
doesn't matter.
nah.
one thing about Vince. Fool me once, shame on me. Shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. He would never, ever, never, never, ever allow her to do that to him again.
Right. Right. I believe that.
Naomi would never
do.
see the end. If she go back, she would never get that opportunity again.
I
She
agree.
didn't bring you back, just like he brought me back. I had the best physique, one of the best physique in the United States. But he brought me back, but he never put me you never get that spot again.
No, you would never.
See,
no.
each time you come back,
Yeah.
you leave,
Yeah.
you hear it. You come back, you hear it.
Right. Right.
He gradually,
I agree.
and the only reason he would bring Naomi back, it does so she don't go nowhere else. He bring her back and settle on the shelf. You know how many wrestlers they would come there every week and sit in the dressing room and never walk on TV?
I wish more mainstream sports like baseball teams and football teams. You piss me off. I'm going to keep you under contract, but I'm going to fucking end your career and make you sit here. Right. I would love to see that. Right. I always wish that. So, Tony, the fans haven't seen you in a very long time. You know how popular you are with all the fans. You're popular with everybody. You know how much I love you and Pharaoh loves you. So, first, I want to say happy holidays. And I want to say every time we speak and every time I think of you, I thank you for the friendship that we built. And, this is a time to reflect on that. And I want to say thank you, Tony.
Like a legend contract. What a legend contract means, you're through.
Gotcha.
Now, he would let you do little stuff. But as soon as something big come along, like a movie or action figure or anything that's going to put money in your pocket, you got to get permission from Vince. And if he said no, you can't do it.
Then don't sign a Legends contract.
Guys don't know that until they get it. See, once you... Johnny Ross told me that 2 weeks after I got to the WWF. Johnny Ross told me. He said, Tony, these people will make you a millionaire, but if you screw them once, they will never trust you again.
Well, it makes sense.
They will never trust you again. And you know where they got that philosophy from? Japan. I sold out every bill in Japan. I was so strong they would have me in the ring lifting weights in the ring in Japan. I'm on a magazine. I'm doing here. I get invited to the sumo stuff and all these awards and stuff. I was standing at the bus, and I missed the bus. I was late for the show. They never brought me back. Mm. First impression, last impression.
All right, I want to view you off for 1 week away from Christmas. We're both very interested in. We'd like to hear some Tony Atlas Christmas stories. We'd like you to tell a story from you growing up as a young child, maybe telling one when you were a wrestler, and then maybe one presently with you and Monica. So go ahead.
Start with when you were a kid. You got a Christmas memory from when you were a kid of any kind that you can share with the audience?
My best Christmas was when I was 11 years old.
Oh, okay.
The state came, it was 9 kids. So we used to go to school dirty and hungry because we didn't have food in the house and we didn't have running water. The water was a well. You go out, you put a bucket down in the well, you draw the bucket up, you have to take the water in and heat it on the stove. And that's how you bathe. You sponge bath. Mm-hmm. So in the winter, we didn't even do that. So I used to go to school, I just smelled like, I stunk real bad. So somebody reported us to the state that we had no food in the house, no heat, no this. So there's something to a place in up near Petersboro, Virginia, called the Virginia Negro Baptist Children's Home. And that was the first Christmas I ever had. Mm. But I never celebrated Christmas. I never had a good Christmas, never. I was even working or I was giving to other people. But I never had a Christmas. Most wrestlers never did, especially back in the older days. We didn't have Christmas. We didn't celebrate the holiday. We was always entertaining on the holidays. And even at home now, I don't celebrate Christmas. Never did.
So there was never like a wrestling Christmas party, like because you said you were off during this period, like did like
office,
Adrian Adonis invite you guys over for a party?
Office.
Okay.
If you're in the office, they would throw a little thing for you or something. But I can't remember ever celebrating Christmas my whole life. I can't remember one Christmas I celebrated. But I do remember my first time that I almost got a gift for Christmas. I was 11 years old when I got my first Christmas gift. My mother could never afford to give us Christmas gifts. So we never thought. I grew up not even thinking about it. So when Christmas and Thanksgiving, all that stuff come out, I tried to hope it go by as quickly as possible. I tried not to think about it. Just like this, my wife been in the hospital for going on. This be the third Christmas she been in the hospital. So every Christmas, I'm sitting in the hospital with my wife for the past 3 years. But I can't remember having a Christmas. I can't. I remember buying other people gifts, but I don't remember. I can't remember people ever give me anything. I mean, receiving gifts or nothing. I was always the giver, but I never really celebrated Christmas. Come to think about it,
What does
all
Christmas?
Thanksgiving,
What does Christmas mean to Tony Atlas?
the birth of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior.
Okay. Okay.
That's what it means to me.
Right.
But when I walk around, I don't see it.
Mm.
So I celebrate Christmas. My mom used to celebrate Christmas by going to church and praise the Lord. That was how she celebrate Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't. She said it's not about the gifts and stuff like that. But Christmas never meant anything to me. And I don't want to spoil other people's Christmas.
No.
But when you was raised up like me and lived the
Circumstances,
life I lived,
Right.
you know, Christmas just another day.
Did you ever have much church as a kid? Getting a chance to go to church? It doesn't
When
sound
I
like you
was
had
a
a
kid-
chance to do much.
When I was a kid, when I graduated from high school, I finished high school with the same clothes I started school with. My mother would work from 7 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the afternoon, go back at 3 and work until 11. 5 days a week. And then on Saturday, she worked 7 to 3. She didn't do the second shift. Sunday, she refused to work because she went to church. And she believed that that's the Lord's day, that on Sunday you should rest and praise the Lord. Mm-hmm. But we grew up real poor. And that's probably why when I grew up, I had no value for money. And George Scott, my mentor, and probably the closest thing to a father I ever had, they used to puzzle him. Say, how can somebody grow up so poor and have such little value for money? He couldn't understand that, you know. But I did. I never really had a lot of value for money. You know, a lot of people say, well, Tony used up all his money on drugs and this, that. I would give it away.
So when you were making some really good money for a while.
I would give it
pro
away.
Wrestling.
I was like Elvis. I thought it would never end. So if I see something, Laura be around me. She could tell you. Every time I see a homeless person, I stop to give money. I give people money, even if I don't have it. I would give.
You never, but like when you were making that kind of money, did you ever go home to your mother and be like, "Hey, Mom, I'm making this money now.
Yeah.
Here's some money. Let's,
Yeah. I did it all the time. Not just my mom, my brothers, friends. One day I had $3,000. I went home, and I called George Scott for money for gas to get back to Charlotte. He said, "What happened to all the money?" I said, "I gave it away." That's why he couldn't understand, how can I be so generous and have so little?
What made you think that it would never end? You said that's why you gave away the money. You figured it would never end. What made you think that it would never end?
We all young, dumb, and
Okay.
stupid.
Okay.
Because we just figured, hey, our family made it.
Right.
So you figured the bubble would never burst. You figured, oh, when I get this age, I'm going to do this. I get this age. You know, you don't think of all the tribulation and stuff that would happen in a person's life. And we were traveling around the world. Wrestlers never grow up. You didn't want to grow up in this business. Because then you're no good to the promoter. So we stayed kids forever.
You said George Scott was the closest thing
Look at
possibly
Ric
to
Flair. What is he, 70? He's a 70-year-old kid.
73, but who's
Flair
counting?
ain't grown.
Yeah.
Flair would go out and spend money like there's no tomorrow, even today.
Did George Scott try to tell you about spending and valuing money?
All
I mean,
the
you
time.
said he
In
was
fact,
the closest.
one time they started taking my check away. They're giving me money, just enough money
To get by, right.
for the travel.
Gotcha.
Because I would give it away.
So what happened after a while? Give me my money. This isn't working. I want my money.
Yeah. I would never save.
Wow.
You know, that was just me. And I was just very, very generous. I was the type of person, it was hard for me to enjoy something, knowing there's so many people in need. And I got a pocket full of money, and I can't drive by a guy standing in the cold in the state of Maine,
Right.
20 below zero, with a little sand with cardboard, with little writing that he written with crayon.
Yeah.
You know, I'm hungry, feed me. And I'm sitting there in a $60,000 car, got a couple of grand in my pocket, and can't stop and give that guy at least $1.
Right. Right. Now I don't know the answer to this, but why not? I'll throw it out there. You said that Vince would give you guys 10 days off through Christmas,
Right.
Junior? Did they throw a yearly Christmas company party? I'm just curious. The WWF.
Not for me.
But I was just curious if
I
they
was
would
never-
have one.
I was never at one.
Okay. Did they
See,
have them?
Like I said, there was a pecking order.
Right.
Hulk Hogan used to always get me in trouble.
Okay.
Because they would send a limousine to the hotel to pick up Hogan and Vince. Hogan would see me, tell me to get in the limousine with him. Vince didn't like that, but Hogan did it anyway. You know, because to Hogan, I was his friend.
Right.
You know, that's how Hogan was. I was Hogan's friend.
Right.
So Hogan would invite me to stuff where I was not invited.
Okay.
So I knew I was not wanted, so I make an excuse like I got to go do something to get out of there.
Right.
Hogan said, "Oh no, you my friend, stay." Hogan used to invite me to them parties all the time. But if you was like Hulk Hogan or Stone Cold, or they had a pecking order. Certain people would know about it. Certain people didn't know about it.
Okay.
Yeah, and the business is not just the wrestling business. I suppose every business is that way.
It's that way, yeah.
Yeah, it's just how it is. You know, if you in the office, you know, a top drawer. Like I got invited to one party one time with the Crockett. One time they used to have a Christmas party in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Okay.
And a wrestler by the name of Wahoo McDaniels.
Oh, yeah.
I was riding with him. And I said, Wahoo, I could get a ride with Rufus. Now, Rufus Jones was a black wrestler, but he was a top star, but he was not invited.
Okay.
So Rufus was driving back to Charlotte. It was only a 2-hour drive. And he said he wasn't invited to the party. So Wahoo said, well, you with me, kid, we're going to the party. And I remember when I walked through the door, it was like, you can hear a rat piss on cotton. Like, what the F are you doing here? So that's not just wrestling. I'm not knocking the business. The wrestling business was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. It has been.
Yeah.
I mean, what I always look back. What would I have done? I'm barely educated. I'm definitely not smart by no means. My pronunciation of words is not that good. I only got a high school education. I'm not that talented in nothing except for lifting weights and drawing. You know, pretty much all I could do. I don't have any trade. So I always look back, where would Tony Atlas been if it wasn't for wrestling?
Well, it's interesting you brought that up because Biggs Boss Fetty's asking, why doesn't Rufus R. Jones get more credit for breaking the color barrier by other black
He
wrestlers?
barely gets mentioned nowadays.
Well, Vince bought all the library.
Okay.
When he bought WCW.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that went with WCW is sitting on a shelf somewhere. And he liked closure. You know what that is?
Mm-hmm.
Closure means once I finish with you, you done.
Right.
Vince just wanted his creation. If you look back on Vince when he first took over, everything his father created, Vince got rid of. It was the end, not just the end of it. When Vince took over, what happened with Captain Lou Albano?
Right.
What happened with Freddie Blassie?
Right.
Tony, he took a lot of the guys that used and made them agents, a lot of them, but he stopped using these guys altogether. Johnny Rods, everything that Senior made, Vince Jr. got rid of and started his own.
Did Vince Jr. not like his father?
I just think he wanted his own stamp on things.
I don't know their personal life, but my wife, before she went to the hospital, she was kind of psychic. And Vince Sr. used to treat me like a son. I mean, I could get away with bloody murder with Vince Sr.
Mm-hmm.
Vince Jr. couldn't get away with nothing. My wife told me one time, and I thought she was playing around, she said, Vince is jealous of your relationship, the relationship you got with his father, Vince wanted. My wife said that. Vince Jr. Sr. had a better relationship with the wrestlers than he could with his son. We could come and ask Vince something and get it. Junior actually didn't get nothing. He gave his first town he gave to him was Bangor, Maine. That was Vince Jr.'s first promotion, Bangor, Maine. He said, if you get that going, I'll give you more towns. But he never got, I could get more out of Vince Sr. than Vince Jr. could get out of it. Let's put it that way.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So he worked his son hard, he played the hard card with him.
Yeah, wow. He had a better relationship. Vince Sr. had a better relationship with the wrestlers than he did with Junior.
So in a way, is Vince McMahon Jr. treating wrestlers the way his father treated him?
I think it made him what he is, though.
That's very interesting, dude.
See, Vince did not want him to become a wrestler because a wrestler way of looking at things is totally different than a promotion perspective.
Oh, yeah.
I got to understand the promotion when I started promoting myself. That's when I started understanding promotion. You know, I had to do it myself.
How difficult was that?
I had to put myself in Vince McMahon's shoes.
Right.
And it was a whole new ball game for me to have to deal with people and their gripes and their tardiness and their lack of cooperation. You have to deal with all of that.
Found it a lot easier being
a
wrestler than
as a wrestler. You're only responsible for yourself.
So you found it easier being a wrestler than a promoter. That's for shit sure, right?
Oh yeah, a wrestler you ain't got to worry about nothing but
right.
But going about 15 minutes.
Right.
Your worries is 15 minutes, then you're done.
There you go.
A promotion, as soon as he finished, first he put a show together, and then he had to make sure that show lead into the next show.
Right.
He had to make sure the TV, got to make sure this is done and that is done.
Got to keep everybody happy. You're like a psychologist on top of it.
And all I do is go in the ring and worry about throwing a couple of drop kick and a press slam.
There you go.
All right, Tony, I got to get this in because Studio 54, we've never talked about it. I'm on that Studio 54 run. Have you ever been to Studio 54? And if can you tell a story?
I went a couple of times, but I don't remember.
You don't remember nothing. So you do remember Studio 54?
I remember going through the door.
There you go. Nice.
I remember walking through the door.
Nice.
I don't remember coming out.
Probably came out naked with white stuff all over your nose, but that's a whole other story.
No, it wasn't so much the drugs.
No, not so much.
The old time wrestler, we were so much into the alcohol.
Okay.
The drugs wasn't all that big during the Studio 50.
This is the 70s.
Yeah, the drugs started hitting wrestling in the nannies.
Okay. The heavy shit?
The nannies is when the drugs really started getting real heavy in the wrestling business. Was the nannies. It was in the 70s, mostly did a lot of alcohol, a lot of always pot.
When does cocaine make rear its ugly head in this business? In the 80s with like the Adrian Adonises and Pipers and stuff like that? Or is cocaine around during the 70s too and we just didn't know about it?
We didn't know about it.
Okay.
But the nannies was really was the late 80s, early 90s. That's when the cocaine...
Things get out of control.
Yeah. But like even during the 80s, it wasn't really that... There were some guys doing it, but it was not like a big... Most of the guys was a lot of pot smoking.
Okay.
And beer drinking.
All right.
Beer and pot was mainly the appetite of the wrestler. But then when the nannies hit, they started bringing these younger kids, and they brought the new drugs with them. And they didn't want to smoke pot. They didn't want to drink beer.
They want to do blow.
Yeah, they was into this. But the thing that was everybody always talked about the pot. Everybody talked about the cocaine. But they never talk about the worst thing that ever hit the wrestling business.
And it is?
The pills.
Pills. Okay.
You can't sit there and name one wrestler that died from alcohol. Right. You can't name one wrestler that died from pot.
Right.
And you can't even name one wrestler that died from cocaine.
Okay.
But every wrestler that you can name died from Oxycontin.
Mm.
And that comes from the doctor.
Right.
So when Vince told the guy that can't smoke pot no more. See, first pot, what Teddy Long told me, was not on the list as as something you can't do. So you could drink, you could smoke pot. You couldn't do cocaine
Right.
or acid or any of that stuff in the
Right.
hard drug. But then all the guys that was the pill takers, they started complaining to Vince about he letting guys smoke pot. So then they put pot on the list. Once they put pot on the list of things you can't do, wrestlers started dropping like flies.
Right. Because they were doing other shit.
With the
Right.
opium,
Right.
the pain pill.
Right.
See, when people, even the newspaper, when they talk about opium, people think about opium as some guy standing on the corner. Opium is not sold on the corner. It's a pharmaceutical drug. You go to your doctor, he gives you the pain pills. And they was getting big kickbacks from the pharmaceutical company to get one of these pills. So they started pumping these pills into people. And every say, when Vince say you can't smoke pot no more, every wrestler you look at from an overdose, I really bet you dollar to donut is from pain pills.
Unbelievable.
Not from cocaine. But people always talk about cocaine like it was such a bad drug.
Right.
Who died from cocaine? Name someone.
Right, I understand.
There's wrestlers did so much cocaine that Columbia had to start a new state just to feed them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how many died from it? Look at Jake. Is he dead?
No.
Tony Atlas, he dead?
No, you're doing all right. Got any blow?
And they all did cocaine. But if
Unbelievable.
if I did Oxycontin,
Right.
I wouldn't be here.
Right.
So the legal drugs, what is so weird, what is legal is more deadly than what was illegal.
I'm not surprised to hear that. We've a couple of times we've had you on. Actually, we've had you on a bunch of times, but we've never discussed Jesse the Body Ventura. What was it like working with Jesse Ventura? How was he towards you as a friend, Jesse Ventura?
Working with Jesse Ventura was like working with the White House.
Okay.
Jesse should have never been a wrestler.
Should have been a politician?
He's a politician. Jesse was been a politician ever since I know. He be wrestling you, telling you about something. Jesse, concentrate on the match. Well, this and that, bop, 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 bop. Yeah. But he always been into politics. And it started, from what he told me, when they dumped that Agent Orange on him. He said they was on the ground when they done that. And ever since that, he just wanted to get involved with politics because he said he wanted to make sure that our veterans is never mistreated because he always felt that the veterans never got, they go and they fight, then when they come back, it's kind of like,
Yeah, they get shit on.
yeah, but he was at Vietnam too, so they got
Right.
spit on.
Right. Yep.
I mean, our veterans really got abused real bad, the Vietnam vets.
Sickening, but yes.
Yeah,
it
and
happened.
so
Yep.
so he always wanted to get into politics to do something, and he wanted to help wrestling too. He wanted to start a union in wrestling. The guy there was one guy that tried one time before. His name was Sputnik Monroe.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's somebody they should look up. You know Sputnik Monroe? I wrestled him. The audience was 80% black. And I walked out there. I'm in Amarillo, Texas. I'm working for Dory Funk. He ran Amarillo. And I said, I'm going to get over like $1 million. Look at all these black people. I'm going to get out like $1 million. I go out and everybody there boo
Tony.
me.
They booed you? Why'd they boo you?
Sputnik came out and they cheered him.
Oh, they love Sputnik.
Every black person loves Sputnik Monroe.
Okay.
And Ric Flair copied him. When you listen to Ric Flair talk, that ain't Flair. That's Sputnik Monroe.
Get out of here. Really?
Sputnik Monroe, the Cadillac Diamond Ring. If you can find one of his interviews, you think it's Flair.
We're going to have to. Now I'm curious.
Flair,
I never
Ric
noticed
Flair
that.
is made of two people, Sputnik Monroe
Never knew that.
and Buddy Rogers.
Okay. Okay.
That strut, that's Buddy Rogers.
Yeah, yeah. That I can see.
So
All
he
right.
took Buddy Rogers and Sputnik Monroe.
Sputnik
He took Buddy Rogers ring work and took Sputnik Monroe interview.
Wow.
That's why everybody loves Sputnik so much. And Dusty Rhodes took Thunderbolt Patterson interview. That's why Dusty was over so well with black people.
Right.
There was more. Dusty Rhodes had more, and Sputnik Monroe had more black fans. In fact, Sputnik Monroe, people don't know this. In Memphis, blacks and whites could not sit together
Right.
in the arena.
Right.
The whites sat on the floor. The blacks sat up in the back of it. They call it the crow nest.
Okay.
The crow nest where the blacks sat. Wow. Sputnik Monroe became a big star in Memphis. He was drawing real good in Memphis. Became a big name there. So he went to Jerry the King Lawler, and he said, "Black people money spend the same way as white people money. You should allow black people to set wherever they want to set. Their money is just as good." So he kept on Jerry Lawler, Finally, Jerry Lawler he had an integrated audience. But Sputnik stood up for black people.
So wait a minute, you're telling me Jerry Lawler
I'm not
didn't believe in
surprised.
integration at all? And
was he
it's
just
like-
Nobody did.
resisting
Well,
the-
it wasn't so much Jerry Lawler, it was the law of the land.
He was just resisting the inevitable
it was,
anyway.
it was just a
Right.
time.
Right. Yeah. I
It
got you.
wasn't Jerry. It
Right.
was.
Right.
See, back in the older day, everybody went by the rules. Just like you had a pandemic in 1918,
Correct.
where they told everybody what to do. Everybody did it.
Right.
You had that same pandemic today. They're not.
Right.
So people
Yeah, it was
was more.
Different.
What I want to say. Everybody just stayed in their lane.
Right.
They stayed in their place.
Subservient.
It was a pecking order, not just in wrestling, but just in the world. With
Sure.
just a certain
Sure.
pecking order.
Right.
Just like if you, my mother used to work for people as a maid. All help, no matter who was. They went through the back door. They did. My mother couldn't walk through the front door. It wasn't her color, because other people that worked there, they was white. They had to go through the back door. They had a back entrance for the workers, and you wasn't allowed on certain areas. Just like in wrestling, I wasn't allowed to just walk into the office, whereas a guy like Wahoo McDaniel, Ric Flair could just walk into the office. I had to have an appointment. It was just a pecking order, not just in wrestling. It was just, that's how the world,
It went.
yeah, that's just how the world was.
All right, Tony, we're going to take a
Because
quick...
you got to realize, Jerry started wrestling 50 years ago. He just celebrated his 50th anniversary as a
He's
wrestler.
old school. He's from the old
Yeah.
days, obviously.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and you brought a special guest in and a little Christmas surprise for the fans watching your show.
What's in your stocking?
That's what we're going to find out. So right after this commercial break.
We shall return in a moment.
M&J Video Games and Collectibles. Sport and non-sport cards, wrestling items, autographed items. We buy, sell, and trade. M&J Video Games and Collectibles, located at 1049 Queen Street, Southington, Connecticut. Call us at 1-860-479-9223 or 860-93-GAMES. M&J Video Games and Collectibles. And Nitro's Garage for all your automotive needs. Call 646-675-2349. That's 646-675-2349. For all your automotive needs, Nitro's Garage. Ask for Jack. Oh, what's up, Mike?
Hey, Jimmy, what's going on?
Yeah, nothing much.
You know, Jimmy, I love this country.
Oh.
I love to buy Made in America material. And I love to buy my artwork at TAG, T-A-A-G, Made in America, 14 East Broadway, Port Jefferson, New York, 11717. The shop at the corner.
For all your logistic needs, call 631-299-3595. That's 631-299-3595. Elm Global Logistics. Pride, performance, and partnerships.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling Broadcast Monte The Pharaoh, where we have frequent visitor, Hall of Famer, Mr. USA Tony Atlas, with a special Christmas edition for the fans. So, Tony, you said you never got a Christmas gift.
Yeah.
You never got anything.
Yeah.
What can Monte and the Pharaoh get you for Christmas?
Ha ha!
What a ham. What? What the hell's going on?
Merry Christmas!
Holy
Ooh, what a rush!
Tony, what does that do for you?
You like that?
It humbles me.
It humbles
Talk to
me.
us. Tell us what that does for you. By the way, can you introduce your friend there
Oh,
that unloaded you?
This is my very good friend
Unloaded
for
on you.
20 years. This is Miss Laura Clucci. She's been my friend for nearly 20 years. She helped me out. She's a very good friend of my wife. She's been a family friend for many, many years. She's the best friend I got up in Maine. But everybody need a balance. Everything that I've ever done in my whole life, I dominated. I dominated bodybuilding. I dominated powerlifting. When I was an amateur wrestler, I dominated. When I started in the wrestling business, 1 year after I started in the wrestling business, I was a main event. I never really had to work hard because I was always so dominant in everything I ever did. This is my balance. So when that happened, it humbles me. It gives me humbleness. It's non-sexual. But I just feel humble to be dominated by a female.
So you meet her, and then at what point do you say, hey, look, sometimes I need help with this. Can you do this? And she's like, okay, no problem. I'm going to punch you in the face. I'm going to kick you in the face.
So she's a nice lady.
Are you sure that,
She's a
like,
nice
maybe
lady.
sometimes your wife is tired
But
of
no,
giving you a
see-
beating and she
but
asks
see,
her to do a favor or something?
Laura is a special person. She got a big heart, and she got a talent that very, very few people have. She listens. There's a difference between listening and hearing. When somebody blow the horn in the car, you hear it. Listening means you let things soak in, you think about it. Lord helps a lot of people that other people don't understand. She's non-critical of anybody. She's the only person that ever stepped on me that never called me weird or sick or abnormal. So you get a feeling of normalcy around her because she don't judge anybody. You know, she's non-judgmental. And she got a big heart. She takes on a lot of other people's problems and try to help people in any way they can. Not too long ago, I hope she don't mind me saying this, but we got bus drivers in Maine. And Laura liked riding the bus, you know, the city bus, where she went and cooked for all of them. They didn't ask her to do it, but she see these poor guys working all the time, nobody showing no respect. So she went home, bought a bunch of stuff, and made them some holiday tweets. She would do things like that. Another neighbor, he got a dog, and he never wanted to walk much, you know. She would go get the dog, go walk the dog. She got an understanding of other people. So with me, I need that balance. It keeps me grounded. And see, dominatrix is most people that enter being dominated in real life are very domineering people. So once now you have to humble yourself to something, and that humbleness help you to, you know, kind of cool your jets for a while. It's a subtlety. Otherwise, I'd be like this all the time, you know, and nobody would like me.
In the wrestling business, the term is soft hands and feet. Does she have soft hands and feet? Because that looked like that hurt. Are they soft blows? Did she, or was that illusion I just saw? She looked like she just kicked the shit out of you, pretty much. So I'm just.
Well, you want to come over and punch?
No. I don't want to find out for myself. It's fine.
She hit hard.
No, I don't want.
She hit hard, but with me, it's normal because I've been doing it since I was 6.
Right.
I used to get girls in school to punch me.
Really?
See, everything about somebody, nobody developed nothing.
Right.
You know how people say that being gay, they learn that? No. You born the way you are. You born the way you are. It's in you. The first time I went and picked up a weight.
Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm not going to let this one pass.
Yeah,
Are you saying that you believe, and I'm not saying I believe or not, but that you believe that people are born gay genetically? It's not a learned habit.
No. Yeah.
And what makes you believe that?
The Virginia Negro Baptist Children's Home. I was raised up in foster homes. I was around a lot of young boys. And there was other boys that you would take a shower with, boys took shower together. Well, you look at one kid, all of a sudden, he's a kid now, and he's looking at you like he's looking at a woman. And he's excited. Another kid don't want to look at you. Then, as I grew up, people don't change that much. My mom said, my mother always knew me because she knew me as a child. And you ask your mom will tell you, he's the same as he's always been. People are born to be what they are. The first time I picked up a weight, I never put them down. Another person go pick up a weight, a month later he quits. Another person pick up a book, he don't want to read it. Another person pick up a book and can't put it down. We born the way we are. Nobody is taught anything. You have to have feelings for that. It's something your brain is telling you, I like that. The brain controls the body. The body don't control the brain. Nobody could teach me. Nobody could teach me to look at Pharaoh and get excited. You can't teach me that.
Yeah, that just comes naturally. Thanks a lot,
Tony.
Tony.
You understand what I'm trying to say? And nobody could tell Pharaoh to look at Tony Atlas and get excited. You can't teach Pharaoh that.
That's true. You can't.
It's got to be in him. It's a feeling he get when he's around males. It's a feeling I get.
Tony, you don't have to worry about a fucking thing.
When I'm around big, strong, domineering women,
Right.
It's a feeling I get.
Right.
Wow. Interesting.
That's how it is with everything. Just like wrestling.
Damn.
You feel it. It's like broadcasting. Like what you guys do, I could never do. It's not in me. The first time I picked up a pencil, I don't know if I told this story or not. My mother, we used to go to Sunday school. So my mother drew me some pictures to color because she couldn't afford a color book. So she bought some paper. And my mother was a born artist. And she drew pictures for us to color. So we had something to color. We had a one box of crayon that we had to share. So she drew all of her pictures. Well, I color all my pictures quicker than my brother did. Then I flipped the paper over and drew other pictures to draw.
Wow.
Nobody ever taught me how to draw. I knew from day one. You take a singer. Like I saw this thing on all these singers like Whitney Houston and Jennifer Hudson. Nobody taught Jennifer Hudson how to sing. It was in her. They started as little kids. They showed tapes of these little kids singing and dancing. Michael Jackson, nobody taught Michael how to sing. You born the way you are. Now we all got demons. So as we grow, we need to control certain things about us, but it's in you. Like a killer. I saw a thing on Jeffrey Dahmer the other night. Nobody taught Jeffrey Dahmer how to keep body parts. He born like that.
He's just a natural.
Yeah.
His parents didn't teach him to do that.
Right.
He's born that way. So we are what we are. I think that anybody that is homosexual, they was born that way. It's a feeling.
That's fair enough.
Because everything comes from the inside out. You get around a bunch of men, you feel different, and then you're around women, you don't feel the same thing. So we are what we are. Everybody want to try to say is you're different, but we had a lot of time. Another thing that could cause you to be different than what you're born to be is a head injury. Like I had a head injury when I was 6. You notice a dent in my head right here? A boy named Jerry Hayes pushed me into the creek, and I fell head first into a creek. And I remember my brothers used to pick on me because I used to get called retarded when I was young because I was always slow at learning. things ever since. And my mother, I remember my mother's voice saying, "Well, y'all leave him alone now. You know he ain't been the same since that accident." She said, "Y'all leave him alone because he had not been the same since that accident." So I was damaged, head trauma as a kid. And then a lot of kids would go through trauma in family that would cause them to be different than what they born to be. So they're all things that will change you to be something that you were not definitely bent, but sometimes it's even a trauma that caused you to just change your life. I knew a girl that was not born gay, but she was dating bikers, and they abused her so much she didn't want nothing to do with men. But she was not born gay. She dated men. Mm-hmm. But then she got to the point, the abuse, every time she was around a man, she felt that she going to get abused, so she just gave up on men and just started dating women. So there are incidents where
people learn.
Right, but the majority of gay people, they born that way.
All right, Tony, it's Christmas.
I don't care how good you look, Marty. You get naked all you want, they ain't gonna do nothing to me. You can wear tennis shoes, all that, they ain't gonna do nothing. Mini skirt, none of that. Now, Pharaoh.
I knew it. I fucking knew it. I should get a haircut. Stop looking at me.
Merry Christmas, Pharaoh.
Stop looking at me.
So, Tony,
hey,
we're out of time. I want you to say, look, you're a big influence on a lot of people. It's trying times for some people out there. It's a holiday season. Can you send a message to the fans out there for Christmas holiday with, any kind of Tony Atlas message?
I'm going to use what my mom said. Enjoy today, for tomorrow is promised to no one. Count your blessings and be appreciated for what you got. We, as a race of people, had lost appreciation. How can you drive a $60,000 car, live in a $200,000 home, eat so much that you overweight and be miserable? If you got a roof over your head, food in your stomach, and you got your health, count your blessings. We are living the greatest country in the history of the world. And most of us, we complain about things where there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong. Never concentrate on your problem, only your solution. Because once you find a solution, you no longer have a problem. You only have a problem in life if you don't have a solution to it. If I'm thirsty and you give me water, I don't have a problem. If I'm hungry and you give me food, I don't have a problem. If I'm homeless and you give me shelter, I don't have a problem. If I'm naked and you clothe me, I don't have a problem. So why is I'm complaining? Enjoy today, for tomorrow is promised to nobody. Kneel for God, stand for the flag, God, country, and self. And love each other. Love thy neighbor as thyself. If you don't love yourself, you can't love no one else. Love yourself. Be happy that you stayed here. I did Legend House in 2014. We aired Legend House in 2014. 8 years ago. 8 years later, half of the people that work me is no longer living. Life is the most precious thing, and once you lose life, you lose everything. You lose everything. Be happy with what you got, because there's always somebody doing worse. If you ain't in Ukraine right now, shut the hell up. You're doing all right. Ukraine ain't doing all right. People all over the world is not doing all right. People in South Florida is not doing all right. They just had a hurricane destroy their homes and everything. There's people all over that's not able to celebrate. So if you're able to have Kentucky Fried Chicken, McDonald's, if you're able to eat on Thanksgiving and you wake up and you can breathe God fresh air and you're not out in the cold, homeless or nothing, you ain't got nothing to be complaining about. You should be ashamed of yourself. So I'm not ashamed of myself. I don't have much, but I got my health. I got good friends. Monte and Pharaoh are very good friends. I got a beautiful 6-foot woman to punch me in the face. I got a wife that love me. I got a daughter that love me. I'm doing okay.
Tony, you couldn't said it any better. This has been the Tony Atlas Christmas special. I want to thank you all for joining us on these 3 wonderful shows. We'll see you Thursday where we have WCW star Glacier in studio. Jimmy, you want to send us out?
You've been watching Monte and the Pharaoh. Happy holidays, folks. Merry Christmas. And, of course, until next week, on behalf of Mr. USA, Tony Atlas, this is Monte. This is the Pharaoh. Later.